How many connections do you need in your network? I'm Greg, I'm the introverted networker. And in this week's episode, I'm thinking a lot about numbers and two numbers that really stuck out to me this week: 25,000 and one. Let me tell you a little bit more about that. This week on LinkedIn, I passed 25,000 followers. When I go to LinkedIn and I look at my follower stats, it says 25,000. And I knew I was coming up on that number. Look, I'd be lying if I didn't say I looked at my number of followers from time to time. And on one hand, to me, that showed a lot to be proud of, right? Not that 25,000 numbers is the biggest number, 25,000 followers is like a magic number. There's nothing magic to it. It's just nice round numbers or milestones that we like to think about and celebrate. And for me, a milestone like that symbolizes consistency, because I haven't grown by thousands of followers at a time. I've grown by tens or dozens a week. And I've been doing it consistently on LinkedIn since 2021. So April 2021, I got serious about posting every single day about networking on LinkedIn, writing a post every single day. And not just writing a post, but showing up when people commented on that post and adding my own comments, and then going to other people's posts and adding comments to their posts, and changing my profile and changing what I did. And it became a habit for me. And so the big number speaks to where you can go if you have a consistent habit. Now, again, there's nothing magic about that number. Nothing special is going to happen. It's not like I'm suddenly going to get more followers or more reach or anything like that. But it was just something to kind of sit back and say, wow, okay, there are a lot of people who are just starting this journey who would say, wow, I would love to be at that number. And at the same time, there's a lot of people who I look at who I feel like maybe haven't been doing this as long as I have, but maybe I don't know. And they have many more people following them than them. And the fact of the matter is none of those numbers matter, really, in the grand scheme of things, because the second number is one. On the day I got to 25,000 followers, I had a message in my private messages from an individual who I had connected with and I talked to on LinkedIn. And like, I'm going to be 100% transparent here. This is somebody who's in my family. This is one of my cousins. All right. And she has followed me on LinkedIn. Obviously, we talk about this. She doesn't live in the same town as I do. I see her maybe once or twice a year. But we started to kind of talk about how she could use networking to improve her career. Okay. So she does some freelance stuff. She does some contract stuff. She wanted to kind of work on networking to improve her hireability and just become visible. And so, she's followed my information. She's followed my process. She knows kind of what I say to do about stuff. And she's never really been comfortable with networking. And so she and I were connecting. We hadn't talked in a few months. And I had asked how things were going, and she said, "Great, I've got a contract I'm working on now, and I'm interviewing for a job that I got because specifically I followed your advice." And she said the advice I followed was I reached out to some people I'd worked with in the past at past projects, and one of those people connected with me, and we got together. We had a conversation we hadn't talked for years. So she went through and she activated her dormant ties. She caught up with some people, and she said the conversation was a lot of fun by itself. But that person went and then had seen a job posting that maybe she would be good for, because they talked about what she wanted to do. So she was specific in saying, here's what I'm looking to do. And this person saw the posting, they sent it to her and said, you got to apply because this just got posted. And the recruiter said there's already 600 applications for this job. And so she applied, but because her friend knew her and knew the person who was recruiting, she sent her information over to the recruiter, and she was able to get initial interviews. And now she's in the interviewing process. And she's like, if I get it, great. If I don't get it, okay. I'm excited about the job. I also already have a job kind of, but she said what was really fun about the whole thing was she just liked the introverted way of networking where she had a conversation with somebody she knew and she was able to hear about an opportunity and a lot of other people were applying, and she kind of went through a different process and got her name into the interview process. And that's how this works. And so for me, that one message on that same day when I passed 25,000 followers was way more important than the 25,000 number. That one person who said, I tried what you teach, and not only did it work, but it was more fun and I enjoyed it. I was like, that's the greatest message I could get. And that's why I do what I do, because this is not the first time somebody's told me that. I've had this experience tons of times in the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Long before I started posting on LinkedIn about this, I was teaching people I knew how to do this, and they'd all say the same thing, that if you do this, it will work. And that's kind of what I want to get back to in terms of how many people do you need to have in your network. The reality is, if you're looking for a new job, you need one connection. You need one person to connect you with the right person. Now, I wrote about this way back in issue number 49 of my newsletter, which dropped 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, July 1st, 2023. And I said the same thing there. It depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get a job, you really only need one connection. To be honest, though, it's going to take more people than one person to get to that one person, right? To get to the one important person that's going to make the final connection for you, you're going to have to meet some more people, and they're going to have to help you get there. So I can't tell you how many people. What I can tell you is, let's focus more on the process. Let's focus on, and you'll hear, I've heard football coaches say this. I think that Nick Saban at Alabama was one of the main people who said this, is you have to fall in love with the process. You have to fall in love with what it takes to get to where you're going. You can't be focused on the numbers or the outcomes. You have to fall in love with the process. You have to think about showing up, making an effort to connect, listening to other people when they're talking, trying to find ways to help them, being really clear on what they can do to help you, and just keep showing up and doing that process over and over again, because you can control that. You can control those things. Those are the inputs you can control. You can ask yourself, did I reach out to a dormant tide today? Did I have a conversation in real life that I listened to the other person? Did I think of a way I could help them, something I could give to them? Did I make it really easy for them to help me? And if you can say yes to all those things, you will get where you want to go with networking. That process will work if you keep showing up and fall in love with that process. And so, again, I can't tell you how many people you're going to have to do that with. And you shouldn't focus on how many people, like what's the right number, how often do I need that? You just have to show up and do the process. And then I was on another call today, and I'm in a private community that Justin Welsh runs. He's another big LinkedIn personality, talks a lot about focusing on what you really want in life instead of chasing what everybody else tells you to chase. And in that private community, we have special guests come in, and Kieran Drew is a writer who, again, on LinkedIn, lots of social media platforms. I didn't really know this about him, but he was a dentist, and he became a writer because he loved to write, and he wanted to make that his full-time job. And so he said something about writing and what you should be focused on when you're writing. And the main thing he said, and what really stuck with me, was number of impressions is not the same as making an impression. And that really just kind of came back to how I was feeling this week. A number of followers I have is not the same as creating a true follower. A number of connections you have is not the same as making a connection. What's important is that one person that you're connecting with, that you're helping, that's the key number, that one connection, not how many connections you have in your network. And so it just really kind of all came full circle this week with this idea of, we can chase numbers of people we connect with. We can chase number of followers on LinkedIn or number of connections. We can chase dollars. We can chase money. We can chase a lot of things, but those aren't necessarily the things that have the biggest impact. So focusing on that one person that's in front of you, that one person you're making a connection with, that one person who you want to make an impression on, that's where you have to focus your time and energy. And when you focus your time and energy on that as your input, all of the other outputs will take care of themselves. So my answer to the question is, how many people do I need to connect with? You need to connect with one. And you need to connect with one today. And then you need to connect with one tomorrow. And you need to connect with one the next day. That's what you should be focused on, not on some big, huge goal or some sort of list of people you're working through, but who's the one person you can connect with. So that's probably not what you expected from this when I started this episode, but I hope that you're following what I'm saying when I talk about get focused on doing the process, get focused on following steps, get focused on that one person in front of you, make that connection, and all the other things will take care of themselves. So take that this week, go out, meet some interesting people. Remember, always be connecting.